Good morning and welcome to Sunday Square Off. I'm Brahm Resnik. Here's today's rundown.
His hashtag was Things That Matter. So how many things in Governor Doug Ducey's State of the State speech really matter to Arizonans?
It's high time.
We get the last laugh as the governor gives comedians one less reason to make fun of us. If you live in Arizona, you have a better chance of being put behind bars than almost anywhere else in the country. The woman who wrote Orange is the New Black is heading here to try to change that.
And Piper Kerman chronicled her year in a woman's prison in the memoir Orange is the New Black. You may have seen the Netflix series. Now, armed with that experience, she's on a crusade for criminal justice reform. Kerman will be at Arizona's Capitol Tuesday for a bipartisan event, kicking off a campaign to ease Arizona's sentencing laws. The American Friends Service Committee of Arizona is leading the gathering. Arizona Director Caroline Isaacs joins us to tell us all about it. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks for having me.
I want to give folks some numbers, a story the numbers tell about our prison population over the last 2 decades. Arizona prison inmates are growing 3 times faster than the number of Arizona residents, even as the crime rate declines. Nonviolent offenders in prison are up 80%. There are more nonviolent drug offenders than all violent criminals. Some dispute those numbers. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've seen Congress act on criminal justice reform. Does that give you some momentum going into this event and this session?
Actually, the momentum was there to begin with. Really, the federal government and Arizona are far behind the curve of other states that have, for many years now, embraced very significant reforms to their criminal justice systems, realizing the same kinds of issues that we are here in Arizona, the tremendous impact on our communities, the cost to taxpayers, and the fact that our recidivism rate is through the roof.
Why is this needed right now, and what will these package of bills that are being introduced, what will they do about it?
It's been needed for some time. As all the numbers indicate, we're a tremendous outlier on this. Having such a high incarceration rate impacts families throughout the state in myriad ways. And it's not doing the things that we had hoped it would do. It's not making us safer. It's not reducing recidivism. It's not reducing crime. And so we can look to what other states have done and all these evidence-based practices to say, we know what works and we can do better.
So talk about one thing that you believe works.
Well, we know, for example, that the largest category of crime or related to the crimes for which people are incarcerated is drug abuse and drug addiction. We know that treatment works better than prison, period. But where we're putting all of our resources as a state is in warehousing people where they're not getting that treatment or access to that kind of help, and we're actually contributing to the problem.
So I think Governor Ducey and County Attorney Bill Montgomery, who's been on the leading edge of opposing sentencing reform, they'd argue more inmates are getting treated in prison and we're helping them at the back end before the release so they can reintegrate into society.
I think it's wonderful that those efforts are underway. That's clearly a huge need because people are not getting treated in prison. About 2% of people identified by the Department of Corrections as needing drug treatment are actually getting it at any given time. What we're proposing, though, is that actually the most efficient and effective way to address this is before people get caught up in the criminal justice system. However, the bills that are actually introduced this year are more to deal with the system that we have. For example, addressing the fact that people are serving these disproportionately long sentences in Arizona, where we have this really point of diminishing returns on that.
And we have a truth in sentencing law here. They have to serve 85% of their term?
Correct. Everybody does. So regardless of the nature of the crime or how you have conducted yourself while you've been incarcerated.
So Bill Montgomery is likely your biggest opponent at the Capitol. He has several friends there, allies who can stop this and have stopped this kind of thing before. He says what you're saying is a myth, that it's all drug offenders in jail, in prison, who should not be there. He said that's not the case, and the number he throws out, his researcher throws out, nearly 95% of Arizona's prison inmates have committed multiple felonies or a violent felony.
Yes.
95%.
So that's a conflated number. So multiple felonies or a violent felony are two completely different groupings of people. So the vast majority of people are, as you cited earlier, the number of folks going for nonviolent crimes is growing. And beyond just like dueling statistics and numbers, what we're talking about are people. And the fundamental thing here is, do we as a state, do the voters of this state believe that people can and do change for the better, that people can make better choices? And if we believe that, then it is incumbent upon us to provide them that opportunity, and they don't currently have it.
Have you ever spoken to Bill Montgomery about this, tried to come to an agreement with him on what things that might work when it comes to sentencing reform?
Absolutely. We've spoken with everybody that will talk to us in this state. The good news is that the voters understand these issues better probably than anyone else, right? Public opinion polls show strongly that because we have such a high incarceration rate, the majority of your viewers probably know someone who's been touched by this system and understand what the impacts are. We're talking with legislators, we're talking with prosecutors, we're talking with defense attorneys. And fortunately, I'd like to believe that it's more than one person who makes the decisions as to what's in the best interest of constituents in Arizona.
I mentioned at the top, this is a bipartisan event on Tuesday. Who's going to be there?
We hope everybody. But the primary focus of our event is those who are directly impacted by these policies. Formerly incarcerated people, families of incarcerated people, because they really are the ones who can present to our decision makers what is the impact of our current laws and what needs to be changed.
All right, Caroline Isaacs, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
When we come back, Governor Doug Ducey's State of the State speech was billed as being all about things that matter. But which things that matter did he leave out? And later, why comedians won't have Arizona to kick around anymore. Plus, our bill tracker, 3 bills to watch at the Capitol. Stay with us.